Tech adepts have speculated widely over the development and nature of the Navigators' unusual talents, and many cast hints at shadowy genetic transmutation and interbreeding during the founding of the Navis Nobilitae. Whatever their origins, the Navigators today are a glorious and esteemed organization, loyal to the Imperium and stalwart in their faith. The peculiar powers of the Navigators can only be preserved by intermarriage. Breeding with mundane humans eliminates the special abilities. This factor has led to the development of the closely related Navigator families and the Navis Nobilitae as a whole. Preface. Historia et Structura Re Navis Nobilitae. The Imperium of Man is characterized by its relentless pursuit of survival amidst the chaos and dangers of the galaxy. However, this pursuit is marred by a profound stagnation in innovation and an adherence to archaic practices that cripple humanity's progress. Central to this stagnation is the perverse interpretation of scientific advancement by the Adeptus Mechanicus, and the heavy reliance on navigators who employ esoteric rituals rather than promoting genuine research and development. This essay will explore how these factors contribute to the Imperium's decline, hinder its capabilities, and ultimately threaten its very existence. At the heart of the Imperium's stagnation lies the Adeptus Mechanicus, the organization responsible for preserving and maintaining technology. The Mechanicus operates under the belief that knowledge is sacred and must be treated as such. This has led to an obsession with the Omnissiah, a godlike figure representing tech, which in turn has fostered an environment where innovation is viewed with suspicion and fear. The motto, "Knowledge is power," is often juxtaposed with the belief that any attempt to understand or modify ancient technology is heretical. This dogma effectively shackles humanity to outdated technology and methodologies, stifling genuine progress. The reliance on a twisted interpretation of progress means that the Imperium has become increasingly dependent on relics of the past rather than creating new innovations. Many technological advancements that once propelled humanity forward have been lost or forgotten, with the Mechanicus focusing instead on the veneration of ancient artifacts. This lack of innovation has rendered the Imperium vulnerable, unable to adapt to new threats or capitalize on opportunities that might arise from genuine research and development. Another significant aspect of the Imperium's stagnation is its dependence on navigators, a specialized group of psychic individuals who guide ships through the treacherous warp. The navigator houses, steeped in tradition and secrecy, employ bizarre rituals and archaic practices to navigate the immaterium, relying on their unique psychic abilities rather than fostering an environment conducive to scientific exploration. The rituals performed by navigators, while effective in the short term, reflect a broader reluctance to embrace the scientific method. This reliance on ritualistic practices can be seen as a microcosm of the Imperium's broader issues with innovation. This approach not only perpetuates a cycle of ignorance, but also places the Imperium's fate in the hands of a select few, leaving the majority of humanity at the mercy of the navigators' whims. The implications of this stagnation are profound. By relying on the outdated views of the Adeptus Mechanicus and the rituals of navigators, the Imperium hampers its ability to respond effectively to existential threats. In a galaxy rife with dangers including alien invasions, chaos incursions, and other unforeseen calamities, the inability to innovate and adapt can lead to catastrophic consequences. The Imperial Guard, often seen as the front line of humanity's defense, suffers from this stagnation as well. With a heavy reliance on traditional tactics and equipment, the Guard is ill-prepared for the ever-evolving threats it faces. While other factions in the galaxy are constantly evolving and adapting their strategies and technologies, the Imperium remains stuck in a loop of ancient traditions. Moreover, the stagnation fostered by the Mechanicus and the Navigator houses creates a sense of despair and hopelessness among the populace. As the average citizen witnesses the decline of their once great civilization and the growing threats surrounding them, they may become disillusioned with the Imperium's leadership and the rigid adherence to outdated practices. This discontent can lead to social unrest, further weakening the Imperium's internal cohesion. The Navis Nobilitae is an ancient organization of mutant Terran nobility, that predates the establishment of the Imperium of Man by several millennia. This prestigious group consists of noble families composed entirely of human mutants known as Navigators, who possess the unique psychic capability to steer voidcraft through the perilous transdimensional currents of the warp over vast distances. The great houses of the Navis Nobilitae rank among the wealthiest and most politically influential factions within the Imperium. Navigators are not only a distinct subspecies of humanity, but also form a powerful political entity, representing all the Navigator bloodlines or houses throughout the Imperium. Members of the Navis Nobilitae enjoy exemptions from numerous imperial laws, and even the Imperial Inquisition exercises caution when dealing with individual navigators due to the political clout wielded by this esteemed organization. Nevertheless, those navigators found guilty of treason, heresy, or similarly grave offences are pursued without mercy. Such matters are often resolved internally within the Navis Nobilitae before the Inquisition has the opportunity to intervene, which could further tarnish the already mistrusted reputation of navigators among an imperial populace rife with superstition. Each navigator family is tightly knit and often quite expansive, with some families forging alliances through marriage, while others engage in political and economic rivalries. Although individual navigators are not directly employed by the Imperium, every warp-capable voidcraft in service to the Imperium is equipped with at least one navigator who acts as the vessel's warp pilot. Navigators are organized into familial groups known as houses, or occasionally clans, through which the warp-eye mutation and their invaluable knowledge of warp navigation have been transmitted across generations. Thanks to their monopolistic control, ancient lineages, and granted imperial privileges, navigator families are typically both exceedingly affluent and influential, with their reach extending throughout the Imperium. Their sway over interstellar trade and commerce surpasses that of any other faction in the human-dominated galaxy. Most crucially, they possess an emperor-bestowed right to govern their own affairs autonomously, thus rendering them largely exempt from the laws and authority of the Imperium, save for instances of overt rebellion or treachery. Even in such cases, the Adeptus Terra exercises great caution in addressing and penalizing these transgressions. A navigator clan's private retainers, soldiers, and bodyguards can number in the thousands. The houses generally enforce their own order, binding themselves through a shared culture, alliances, fealty, and marriage ties. However, in the interest of maintaining the balance of power, the High Master of the Navis Nobilitae, known as the Pater Nova, along with his agents, can be ruthless in dealing with any clan or family that, through treachery or excess, jeopardizes the stability of the others. While the Pater Nova and the Novators, who oversee the individual houses, ostensibly exist to manage the house's power and safeguard their interests from the greed of the Adeptus Administratum or the ignorance of the Ecclesiarchy and Inquisition, their true role is even more significant. They are tasked with nurturing and protecting the navigator gene, which is vital for the survival of the houses. Ensuring the birth and training of skilled and powerful navigators is essential. However, the fierce competition among families has also led to experimentation and manipulation of the evolution of their offspring, aiming to produce more capable navigators to outmaneuver their rivals and secure more lucrative, far-reaching contracts. Over the centuries, these deliberate alterations to the navigator gene have resulted in various navigator lineages, giving rise to bloodlines in which specific powers, abilities, and mutations are more pronounced. A significant tension exists between the Navis Nobilitae and the broader Imperium, primarily due to the navigators' clear status as mutants in a society that typically condemns mutants to a life of harsh oppression as an underclass. Dark myths and tales of excess, sorcery, and lethal power have arisen around them, many with a basis in reality. Consequently, navigators are frequently shunned and feared. The popular dread of encountering their tripartite eyes leads many to engage with them only when absolutely necessary. The selective breeding practices, maintained to preserve the recessive navigator gene, have resulted in most navigator families accumulating various deformities, peculiar afflictions, or mental irregularities over the millennia. While some attribute these issues to inbreeding and the close familial ties within navigator circles, it is more plausible that the navigator gene itself induces genetic instability and mutations as a navigator gains power and ages. With each year and increasing exposure to the warp, the chances of developing further mutations rise dramatically. To counteract the unpredictable nature of the navigator gene, numerous houses conduct meticulous screenings of their members' genetic material and employ gene scryers to identify the most compatible matches for arranged marriages. In addition to these gene scryers, divination tools like the Emperor's Tarot are utilized to ensure that no psychic taint endangers the stability of their genetic pool. The oldest and most established houses leverage their considerable resources to maintain strict control over their bloodlines through carefully orchestrated unions, making them more resilient to the genetic instabilities that afflict lesser families. In contrast, other houses have either neglected such rigorous control or have recklessly tampered with their genetic heritage in a bid to produce more powerful and skilled offspring. This has inevitably led to significant instability within some dynasties. In certain navigator families, the degree of genetic corruption has escalated to such an extent that only a few members can interact freely with the wider Imperium. The remainder are relegated to their families' vast estates or confined to sealed sanctums aboard ships, their deformities hidden from view. These disparities have historically sparked conflicts, and localized factions within the ecclesiarchy have, on several occasions, resorted to burning navigator holdings and executing navigators as heretics. Such incidents are typically quelled violently by the ecclesiarchy before the ire of the High Lords of Terror descends upon those responsible and their superiors who permitted such acts. After all, no one can afford to offend those who control the keys to interstellar travel. The Inquisition stands as one of the few organizations capable of transcending the immunity granted by the Navigator's Charter, and it constantly monitors the activities of the Navigator clans. Yet even the Inquisition must proceed with caution in this regard. In rare and extreme circumstances, however, the Holy Ordos have been known to annihilate entire clans, taking their leaders away in the Black Ships for ultimate judgment. Little is known about the early history of the Navigator houses, but some, within the Holy Ordos of the Inquisition, suspect that the ancient stasis vaults hidden beneath the mansions of the Navigator's Quarter on Terra House records and artifacts rivaling the Inquisition's in both age and significance. Any secret histories of mankind's darkest eras concealed beneath those marble edifices are likely to remain buried, as the novators of the great houses are answerable to no other authority. Even the most determined and relentless inquisitors would find it nearly impossible to penetrate their closed society and compel them to acknowledge any external law. Few organizations within the Imperium wield as much power as the great navigator houses of the Navis Nobilitae. Their control over nearly all Imperial shipping and interstellar trade places them in a position of extraordinary influence, one that is nearly beyond the reach of both the Adeptus Administratum and the Inquisition itself. This position of power has been ruthlessly exploited by the great houses over the millennia, allowing them to amass immense wealth and sway. Conversely, the lesser navigator families owe allegiance to the larger, more influential houses, which themselves maintain various alliances. These alliances give rise to trading cartels that compete for lucrative contracts with other such unions. The merchant fleets of the Imperium must continuously negotiate with these powerful cartels for navigator services, a strained relationship that the Imperium strives to maintain with the upper hand. While the balance of power has shifted throughout the ages, the influence of the Navis Nobilitae has endured longer than nearly all other imperial institutions. The only aspect of the great houses that rivals their political longevity is their perpetual struggle with one another. In their internal power struggles, the houses employ a wide range of tactics to outmaneuver their rivals, sometimes resorting to open conflict. It is only through the strict oversight of the House Novators and the carefully upheld codes of conduct and traditions among navigators that these conflicts do not spiral into chaos. Regardless of their origins, the navigator houses appear to have enjoyed a privileged status since time immemorial. They must have been an established and influential body at the onset of the Emperor's Great Crusade in the late 30th millennium, a necessity given their crucial services. Without the navigators to guide each expeditionary fleet, the Great Crusade would have taken millennia to complete, rather than the brief 2 Terran centuries it actually spanned before the catastrophic events of the Horus Heresy plunged the nascent Imperium into a galaxy-wide civil war. It is reasonable to presume that several houses succumbed to the insidious deceptions of the War Master Horus, as it would not have been possible for him to deploy his fleets with such speed and cunning otherwise. Whatever the truth may be, the navigator houses seem to have emerged from the heresy with their power and reputation largely intact, an affirmation of their essential role in the existence of the galaxy-spanning interstellar empire known as the Imperium. Within the Imperium, thousands of navigator houses exist, each with a history extending back hundreds, if not thousands, of Terran years. Yet despite this vast number, the actual count of navigators is merely a drop in the ocean compared to the countless masses of humanity. These houses vary significantly in both strength and composition, and over millennia many have diverged from the original great families that first exhibited the navigator gene during the Great Crusade. Some have dwindled into extinction, a few have turned outlaw, while many others have flourished, creating branches and offshoots across the Imperium. While it would be impossible to catalogue and critique each navigator family, they can be broadly categorized based on their unique strain of the navigator gene, their area of influence, and their lifestyle. The 4 prominent groups throughout the galaxy are known as the magisterial houses, the nomadic houses, the renegade houses, and the shrouded houses. Magisterial houses. A magisterial house is a navigator dynasty closely linked to one of the original families from the era of the Unification Wars. These houses rank among the wealthiest and most traditional within the Navis Nobilitae, boasting substantial holdings in the Navigators' Quarter on Terra. Their influence stretches to the far reaches of the Astronomican's light. Magisterial houses uphold age-old traditions, customs and practices that have served them well over millennia. They excel in traditional navigator crafts and have greater control over the malign mutations that often afflict those with the navigator gene. Being part of a magisterial house signifies a steadfast awareness of one's blood purity and the ancient power and nobility of one's lineage. Thanks to the long-standing maintenance of their bloodlines, navigators from these houses are less prone to the symptomatic mutations that typically plague those exposed to the Empyrean's power. Nomadic houses have forsaken ties to specific sectors and star systems, abandoning their terrestrial holdings in the Navigator's Quarter on Terra or other imperial worlds. Over centuries, these navigator families have embraced a life among the stars, becoming wanderers whose bloodlines are preserved aboard vast fleets of starships perpetually in motion. Their lifestyle renders the members of nomadic houses some of the most skilled navigators in the Imperium, given their extensive exposure to the void and the immaterium, as well as the inherent necessities of astronavigation. This gives them an unparalleled understanding of both space and the warp, though, like all Voidborn, these navigators often struggle to relate to the diverse planetary cultures of the Imperium. Shrouded houses have experienced significant loss or disgrace within the more established dominions of the Imperium. They have chosen to relocate their power base to the fringes of known space, clinging to the faint remnants of their former status and influence. While they may possess rich skills, knowledge, or lore, something in their past has tarnished their reputation, reducing them to a state so distant from their once illustrious position that they are often derisively referred to as beggar houses by their more fortunate, albeit less polite, counterparts. A navigator from a shrouded house is part of a fallen bloodline, striving to rise again and defy those who once cast them down, or so they are told by their elders. This decline has compelled shrouded houses to the fringes of the Imperium, fostering a cunning and opportunistic mindset alongside skills often absent in more complacent families. As a result, these navigators tend to be far more resourceful than their well-established kin, with their warp eyes becoming increasingly perceptive. Renegade houses embody the great houses that have completely abandoned the traditions and ancient practices of the navigator families in their pursuit of power. They may also have been cast out by the Navis Nobilitae, leading to their exile. Heavily involved in altering the genes of their offspring to improve their lot, the tampering often results in hideous mutations and the emergence of monstrous beings within their lineage, resulting in rejection by the Paternova and relentless hunting by the Inquisition. Nevertheless, some renegade houses have inadvertently birthed new strains of the navigator gene, creating families with unique abilities and formidable powers. Navigators within these houses have discarded sacred traditions as antiquated and restrictive, embracing instead the glory and boundless potential of their ancestry. At least, this is the belief that comforts them. Whispers suggest that frontier regions such as the Coronus Expanse in the Segmentum Obscurus harbour several renegade houses, including the secretive Gasmati and the notorious Nostromo. The navigator houses hold immense significance for the Imperium's welfare. Having amassed considerable wealth and influence over the centuries, the Navis Nobilitae can trace its origins back to ancient times, and since then, these houses have accumulated staggering riches. Every void ship traversing the warp routes of the Imperium and beyond employs at least one navigator, often a whole cadre, to safely guide it through the treacherous immaterium. The wealth accrued from this vital function enables the Navis Nobilitae to further expand its fortunes. Few, if any, apart from the Paternova, the most senior patriarch or matriarch among the great houses, truly comprehend the vast wealth wielded by the Navis Nobilitae. Their influence extends well beyond mere material riches. Navigators are known to have interests in various organizations throughout the Imperium. Many maintain close ties with rogue trader dynasties, the Adeptus Mechanicus, and even the esteemed chapters of the Adeptus Astartes. The navigator houses frequently act as sponsors and investors in ambitious ventures, particularly those led by powerful rogue traders. As these traders rely on navigators to chart new warp routes, the Navis Nobilitae benefits doubly, refining their own navigational charts while contributing to the Imperium's expansion. Despite their immense wealth, the navigator houses do not typically exhibit the overt power structures common to other imperial institutions. Unlike rogue traders and chartist captains, they do not command fleets adorned with their livery, nor do they operate their own trading hubs or industrial complexes. Instead, they maintain partial stakes in a wide array of such endeavours, and the influence of the Navis Nobilitae is often discreetly concealed. Navigators generally do not maintain large standing armies. However, many houses employ a cadre of highly trained, well-equipped, and occasionally genetically enhanced household troops fiercely loyal to their bloodline. When circumstances demand, these houses tap into their substantial wealth to hire the finest mercenary forces available. With adequate forewarning of an impending conflict, they can assemble composite armies that rival the size and resources of orbiting imperial defense forces. What the navigator houses do possess are splendid palaces, exquisite estates, and breathtaking pleasure gardens that defy imagination. Most of these are situated far from the scrutiny of the average citizen of the Imperium, though they maintain more functional, albeit lavishly appointed chancelleries in major starports and planetary capitals. From the outside, even the most modest Navis Nobility palace is likely a grand edifice adorned with marble and crafted by the era's most skilled sculptors. Towering spires pierce the sky, and gleaming domes suggest the unimaginable wealth contained within. Yet casual observers may overlook the concealed defences, including automated weapon turrets and formidable void shields. Within these walls, every visible surface gleams with gilded metal leaf or is draped in sumptuous fabrics. The domes house extensive libraries filled with ancient tomes, lavish ballrooms, serene gardens, and luxurious harems. Lumens crafted from rare gemstones illuminate dining halls capable of hosting thousands, while rows of liveried attendants stand ready to serve. An army of servants caters to every whim of their masters, while the lower levels buzz with activity as highly skilled cuisiniers prepare exquisite delicacies sourced from across the Imperium. Beneath these bustling servant quarters lies a much darker reality. In fortified and warded dungeons reside those offspring of the Navis Nobilitae doomed never to navigate a starship through the turbulent sea of souls. These genetic outcasts, the product of millennia of intermarriage and genetic manipulation, exist as mindless, grotesque beings that scarcely resemble anything birthed by a human womb. Many of these wretches are dispatched soon after birth, while others are kept alive for study, allowing the house genitors to learn from these failures in hopes of avoiding similar mistakes in future generations. Just as the lowest levels conceal those the navigator houses wish to keep from prying eyes, certain areas are reserved solely for the highest-ranking members of the house. As a navigator ages, and their body succumbs to the genetic affliction linked to their bloodline and exposure to the warp, they often withdraw from their kin and isolate themselves from the outside world. Although their cognitive faculties and navigational abilities remain intact, they continue to enjoy the luxury their status affords, albeit in their private chambers, attended only by their personal staff of servants, guards, and chirurgeons. Should their mind fall victim to the navigator's genetic curse, their fate is to descend to the depths of their own palace, joining the other abominable monstrosities of their lineage. The novator serves as the patriarch or matriarch of a navigator house, embodying the figurative and often biological parent of the family. This role entails the responsibility of maintaining the family's unity and overseeing its fortunes, forging new contracts and connections while fiercely protecting existing ones. Above the numerous novators stands the Paternova, the supreme head of all the navigator houses within the Imperium. Seated on a throne in the ancient palace of the Navigators on Terra, the Paternova shapes the fate of these houses, ensuring their continued prominence in the human-settled galaxy. Although the leaders of the great houses are collectively referred to as novators, each house may designate its own unique title for its leader. Typically, a novator is selected from the ruling branch of the family, chosen by a council of elders based on merit or hereditary rights. While the novator governs the clan's affairs and makes critical decisions and alliances, the elders subtly influence the lineage and ultimately decide on the selection of a new novator. Despite their lavish lifestyles, these venerable navigators, often marred by grotesque mutations, wield considerable influence during pivotal moments for the clan. To ensure stability within the Navis Nobilitae, the novators of major houses maintain direct communication with one another, whether in times of peace or during trade disputes. Utilizing a specialized encrypted communication system known as the Novata Cortex, the heads of the navigator houses can contact one another instantly, provided the network is operational within the given star system or sector. This system allows them to negotiate and resolve disputes, discuss betrothals, and collaborate to address any issues with civility. The Paternova is the foremost leader, possessing unmatched psychic and political power among all navigators within the Navis Nobilitae. Residing in the Palace of the Navigators, which dominates the heart of the Navigators' Quarter on Terra, the Paternova never departs from this grand edifice. The staff, soldiers, and retainers of the palace are drawn exclusively from the Paternova's house and are replaced upon the ascension of a new Paternova. The chief attendant of a Paternova is the Paternoval envoy, who often serves as one of the High Lords of Terra, advocating for the interests of the Navis Nobilitae within the Senatorum Imperialis. If anyone knows the secrets surrounding the Navigator's origins in the ancient annals of humanity, it is undoubtedly the noble who ascends to the role of Paternova. One of the Paternova's most significant functions is their ability to enhance the warp sense of other navigators, a phenomenon stemming from the extreme mutations they endure during their rise from heir apparent among the more influential navigator houses. Consequently, the Paternova is often regarded as the guiding father or mother of the Navis Nobilitae. their powers seemingly transcending even the warp. The importance of this connection becomes evident during the rare interregnums that occur between the reign of one Paternova and their successor. During such periods, all navigators, except for the heirs apparent, experience a considerable decline in their ability to navigate the warp. If this situation persists, the Imperium risks descending into chaos, as both commercial and military starships would struggle to navigate the warp safely, with many potentially becoming lost to the Empyrean. Typically, a Paternova may live for a millennium. Upon their death, a successor is chosen from among the waiting heirs apparent, the most potent navigators from the great families. Immediately following the death of the Paternova, all existing heirs apparent undergo a dramatic physical transformation. They grow larger and stronger, and the psychic mutations characteristic of all navigators become even more pronounced. The heirs apparent gain the capacity to survive underwater, in toxic environments and even in the vacuum of space. Their innate aggression intensifies, drawing them into fierce combat with one another. As each heir apparent falls, those who survive physically change even further until only one remains. This vastly altered and extraordinarily powerful individual ascends as the new Paternova. Once a new Paternova takes residence in the Palace of the Navigators, the standard strength of psychic abilities for all navigators is restored, although the degree of restoration may vary. Navigators from the same house as the Paternova experience a significant enhancement in their abilities as their blood ties appear to facilitate a more effective transfer of powers. Conversely, those from the house of the former Paternova lose this benefit, resulting in a noticeable decline in their powers. The reasons behind this fluctuation in power levels remain a mystery to Imperial genetic science. A pleasure to meet you, sir. Allow me to introduce myself. I am your charioteer, your gatekeeper to the stars. These trade conferences are such a bore, don't you think? We have all week to discuss the trade routes of the Expanse. Would you care to join me in a glass of Amasec? Wonderful. Navigator Gadavilius Obrex, emissary of House Vorkle. Navigators are among the fortunate elite of the Imperium, born into privilege within politically powerful clans, steeped in intrigue as dark and complex as their own mutating forms. While some navigator houses empower representatives to mediate with the broader imperial society, others focus inward, selecting adept navigators from their ranks to leverage the clan's political influence to its fullest extent. Though part of the Imperium, each navigator house operates with significant autonomy, wielding power and influence comparable to that of the Imperium's major organizations. It is, therefore, commonplace for many houses to maintain diplomats and envoys for engagements with the larger Imperium. These representatives, known as scions of the Navis Nobilitae, are groomed to serve as diplomats and power brokers, diligently safeguarding their families' interests. Equally comfortable in the opulent estates of navigator houses and the courts of imperial aristocrats, these scions excel in conversation and courtly etiquette, often chosen for their relative lack of disfiguring mutations as much as for their social acumen. These navigators capture significant attention during their public appearances. Destined to be the focal point in virtually any courtly environment, Navis scions thrive on the attention of onlookers, using their instant notoriety to charm potential allies and deride known adversaries. It is a rarity to encounter a navigator in public, and even rarer to see one encircled by an admiring or simply curious crowd. Whether captivating an audience with tales of journeys beyond the Imperium's fringes, or deftly pricking a boor's pride with a clever quip, Navis scions possess exceptional social prowess. Yet the responsibilities of a scion extend far beyond engaging conversation. They are still required to be skilled navigators for vessels traversing the immaterium, acting as essential conduits between their house and its allies. Their role encompasses seeking out new clientele and ensuring that existing allies are committed to the best interests of the house. The imposing presence of a full-blooded navigator can swiftly tip the scales of trade negotiations. Similarly, adversaries of the Navis Nobilitae must tread carefully when a Navis scion enters the court. For wielding the political and economic might of their house, they command both fear and respect. The extensive education and political acumen of Navis scions render them invaluable companions. In their line of duty, many scions become trusted advisors to rogue traders, admirals of the Imperial Navy, and other high-ranking Imperial officials who value their expertise and lineage. Numerous Imperial nobles seek the counsel of a scion for matters concerning politics, trade, or even personal issues. While the rumor that a navigator's third eye can foresee the future is only partially true, it does not deter most scions from acting as psychic advisors, fully aware that a well-placed prophecy can easily become a self-fulfilling reality. Becoming a Navis scion is not a matter of choice. These individuals must be groomed from an early age, entering courtly life before their hereditary mutations manifest. Consequently, the highly public lives and exotic, almost inhuman beauty of many Navis scions lead others to dismiss tales of grotesquely deformed navigators as mere fables crafted by the houses to intimidate rivals. Yet no navigator can escape the betrayal of their own body, resulting in the short public careers of most scions. Nevertheless, the alliances forged and social avenues opened during this time can serve navigators well throughout their extended lifespans, and may even be refined and enhanced through clever maneuvering later in life. Still, many Navis scions become so enamored with the intricacies of courtly intrigue that they struggle to leave it behind when the time comes. Numerous scions have resorted to extensive reconstructive surgeries and invasive bionic enhancements to maintain the almost human features that once made them celebrated figures in imperial high society. Each house of the Navis nobility possesses its own distinct traditions and hierarchical structures shaped by their unique histories and cultures. For example, House Belisarius is governed by a novator who holds the title of Celestarch and maintains a standing military force trained by the Space Wolves chapter of the Adeptus Astartes. Long ago, the Space Wolves forged a special alliance with House Belisarius, providing the Celestarch with a dedicated unit of Space Wolves known as the Wolfblade, serving as a personal honor guard. A nobleman or noblewoman, referred to as a novator, acts as the matriarch or patriarch of a navigator house. This individual may be either the figurative or biological parent of the house's members, but always assumes the role of the legal and titular leader. The novator is responsible for managing the family's fortunes and ensuring the cohesion of their kin while promoting the house's political and economic interests. This includes securing trade contracts and meticulously safeguarding the profitable enterprises already under their control. The stringent regulations enforced by a novator, combined with the Imperium's legal navigator codes, help prevent catastrophic economic and military conflicts from erupting between the navigator houses. At the apex of the hierarchy among the various novators resides the Pater Nova, a powerful noble who oversees the fortunes of the navigators as part of the imperial elite. The most frequent disputes involving the Navis nobility arise between the various navigator houses. Each family's power and wealth hinge on the trade it can command, the contracts and commitments it holds with various imperial mercantile organizations, and the navigational routes its navigators can chart. These elements are fiercely contested, often becoming the focal point for campaigns of espionage, violence, and assassination. Such conflicts can inflict significant damage on the Imperium's infrastructure, frequently occurring without the knowledge of other human nobility or imperial authorities until the repercussions are dire. Historically, this damage has been mitigated through the formal declaration of a trade war, as per the ancient Navigator Convention. Once a trade war is declared, all involved navigator houses are permitted to employ military and covert methods against their rivals. According to the convention, those outside the participating navigator houses should remain unaffected by the conflict. However, in practice, subsidiaries, allies and associates of the houses embroiled in a trade war often find themselves inadvertently entangled in the hostilities. While a trade war is intended to regulate and contain competition among the navigator houses, many operate outside the boundaries of an officially declared trade war. Such illicit actions frequently involve intermediaries, assassination guilds, or hired mercenary armies, sometimes even enlisting Xenos like orcs or Kroot. I thank you for this lavish meal and for all of your hospitality this evening. As such, I most deeply regret, that I must put forth this filthy accusation of duplicity against your most illustrious house. I am afraid that nothing short of a challenge to a duel of honor will sate my house now. You have until Scarus eclipses the Bannerstar to select the champion who will most certainly exonerate you, Aristide de Balafair, before his 23rd victorious honor duel. Navigator houses operate as highly secretive and fiercely competitive entities, closely guarding their knowledge of safe warp routes from one another. The prosperity and renown of a house hinge on its ability to expertly navigate vessels through the tumultuous warp, and the reputation it cultivates in doing so. A house's stature directly correlates with the influence and wealth of its clientele. Entities such as the Navis Imperialis, the Space Marine chapters, rogue traders, and various imperial organizations actively seek the services of the most reputable houses. The reputation of each house is built upon the meticulously recorded warp route charts it has compiled over millennia, and these charts are zealously protected from rival houses. To safeguard their invaluable data, many houses deploy entire private armies and sophisticated servitor security systems deep within their headquarters. Despite these precautions, individuals and organizations occasionally attempt to pilfer from rival groups, although successful thefts are rare. Many houses employ agents skilled in the arts of subterfuge to mitigate these risks. Rival houses also engage in more insidious tactics to undermine one another. In the opulent palaces and courts of the upper echelons of imperial society, whispered rumors and insinuations of dark secrets can devastate one navigator house while elevating another. The tarnished reputation of a single navigator can cast a shadow over their entire bloodline. In some instances, when subtle machinations and clandestine conflicts prove insufficient, one navigator house may publicly challenge another. In certain regions, particularly the Calixis sector and the Coronis expanse, this often manifests as navigator duels, contests between two significant entities settled by individual champions. While the exact origins of these duels remain shrouded in mystery, the practice became prevalent in the Calixis sector during the rise of the so-called Elutrian Confederacy. During this era, navigator houses aligned with the Elutrian Confederacy, such as House Typhon, claimed exclusive knowledge of the path to perfection. Their champions began to call for navigator duels to demonstrate their alleged superiority. Even after the downfall of the Elutrian Confederacy and the ruin of House Typhon, the traditions they established for these duels endured in the region and continue to resolve disputes among navigator houses in the Calixis sector today. The process begins with a formal challenge. Navigator duels are public events within the otherwise secretive world of the Calixis navigator houses, and a family would lose significant prestige if it declined to accept. Furthermore, the loser is expected to pay a substantial penalty in terms of wealth, resources, and knowledge to the victor, ensuring that challenges are not issued lightly. Once a challenge has been issued, each house is given a specified number of days to select a champion to uphold its honor and appoint a second to serve as a witness and potential substitute. Being chosen as a duelist is regarded as a tremendous honor and presents a young navigator with an opportunity to enhance their standing among both their family and other navigator clans. Duels typically occur in remote locations, such as an abandoned spire, the bridge of an unoccupied void ship moored in deep space, or a windswept mountaintop on a desolate planet. The only witnesses present are the seconds of the duelists. Navigators prefer to shroud themselves in an aura of mystique, ensuring that no outsiders witness the full extent of their formidable powers. The duel unfolds with careful formality. The participants bow to one another before slowly revealing their third eyes. At a prearranged signal from their seconds, the duelists unleash their powers, locking their gazes in a fierce contest as they stare into each other's warp eye, enduring the horrors of the chaotic Empyrean. This duel tests both physical and mental fortitude, with each competitor striving to subdue the other through sheer will, lasting anywhere from mere seconds to hours. The first to yield, falling to their knees, concedes victory to their opponent. Death is rarely the goal of these duels, as the lives of navigators hold significant value even among bitter rivals. Nonetheless, one or both participants may endure prolonged periods of recovery, their minds strained by the exertion of the encounter. Upon their return to their respective houses, the seconds report the duel's outcome, and a representative from the losing house must attend a celebratory feast in honor of the victor, where they formally concede the promised compensation. Consequently, the losing house suffers a loss of dignity and a tarnished reputation, potentially leading to far-reaching consequences within the broader Imperium.